Hey guys, so today you're going to be learning about who the character of Wind Rider is actually based off of, and it's a real American Chinese aviator named Feng Ru, or sometimes also referred to as Feng Zhou Gui. So this information is actually contained in the afterword. If you would want to follow along with me, it's only about 2 pages. I ought to explain that when the story refers to a Tang man, he is not one of the notorious Tang men or hatchet men. As the story notes, the word Tang refers to the Tang dynasty, which ruled from 618 to 907 AD, and is more properly spelled Tang. The Tong of the hatchet men is translated as brotherhood in the story and means a hall or a court, and by extension, a lodge or a fraternity. I should also warn thoughtful readers that Dragon Wings is more of a historical fantasy than a factual reconstruction. So I want you to think about why the author would consider that historical fantasy rather than just straight historical fiction. I have an idea why, but I want you to think about why. I was intrigued when I first read the newspaper accounts of the young Chinese flyer Feng Zhou. He flew in the hills of Oakland on September 22nd, 1909, for 20 minutes before a mishap with one propeller brought his biplane down. So it already sounds familiar to what happened with Wind Rider at the end of our book. Not only had the ingenious Feng Zhou improved upon the Wright's original design, but he had also made his own wireless sets and telephones, which he distributed among other interested Chinese. He had plans to build a new biplane of steel pipes and silk. Did he ever build that new biplane? I do not know, nor do I know why he built that first biplane. I do not even know where he came from or whether he had a wife and a family. Like the other Chinese who came to America, he remains a shadowy figure. Of the hundreds of thousands of Chinese who flock to these shores, we know next to nothing. They remain a dull, faceless mass, statistical fodder to be fed to the sociologists, or lifeless abstractions to be manipulated by historians. And yet, these Chinese were human beings with fears and hopes, joys, and sorrows like the rest of us. In the adventures of the various members of the Company of the Peach Orchard Vow, I have tried to make some of these dry historical facts become living experiences. So to me, I annotated that as theme that they were real human beings, just like the rest of us. But this also reminds me, similar to what Scott Odell did with Island of the Blue Dolphins, where he took that story of the lone woman of San Nicolas Island and kind of fictionalized it himself based upon information he had found. At the same time, I have tried to be reasonably faithful to the period. E. Nesbit was then a new and promising author in England. Theodore Roosevelt was regarded as something of a wild-eyed radical by right-wingers, and he did get into office because of a presidential assassination. Similarly, I've tried to follow the facts of the Chinese-American experience when I could find them, including a description of a Chinese laundry before the earthquake. At the same time, it has been my aim to counter various stereotypes as presented in the media. Dr. Fu Manchu and his Yellow Hordes, Charlie Chan and his Fortune Cookie Wisdom, the laundrymen and cooks of the movie and television westerns, and the houseboys of various comedies present an image of Chinese not as they really are, but as they exist in the mind of white America. So I annotated that on the side, you'll see, as those are typical stereotypes of Chinese Americans. I wanted to show that Chinese Americans are human beings upon whom America has a unique effect. I've tried to do this by seeing America through the eyes of a recently arrived Chinese boy and by presenting the struggles of his father in following his dream. Okay, so there's a little bit more information about kind of Lawrence Yep's inspiration for writing the book and who he kind of based his character of Wind Rider off of. Okay, so what you're going to do is on this document here, I've attached a YouTube video that talks about the aviator, Feng Zhou, or like I said, also referred to as Feng Ru. So I want you to watch the video, and then you're going to read this article about him. There's a picture of him right here. And then you're just going to do a quick compare contrast between Feng Ru and Wind Rider. And then I want you to tell me what are 2 questions that you're either still wondering about either Feng Ru or Wind Rider as a character. And then you'll submit when done.